Welcome to Tips and Tricks with Curve4. Let's look at the ways you can blend color lists and measurements in the Blend tool. Besides averaging files that have identical layouts, you can bring in any different kinds of targets and then decide how you want them blended, and then decide how you want them to be exported as a combination of all of them, or a subset of some of them, a subset of your favorite targets, or with Regenerate, you can even create measurements that include colors that are not even in the color sets you started out with. Starting to understand why we call this the blender? A very basic use of this tool is as a place to measure several profiling targets from a press run, for example. The color on a press will change over the course of the run, so if you take samples from the beginning, middle, and end, you can average them into a single file that truly represents your whole press run. This is key to making an accurate press profile. It's a good idea to use the weighted averaging, which puts less weight on the outliers and more weight on the colors that are more representative of the population. Now let's say I want to make a new profiling target for my company. I'll start by using the TC1617. It's basically an IT8 with the grays of a P2P. Now our proofers use the ID Alliance 54 patch control strip, so I'd like to make sure those patches are included in the profiling target too. Add other patches from other targets if you want. Here's a P2P just for an example. If I want a color list that contains all the patches and all of these targets, I put patch blending to none and output all. If I want to output just the unique values and have all the duplicates averaged together, I choose average and remove the duplicates. This is a great tool for learning about different sets of patches. There are 1671 patches total here, but only 1620 if I remove the duplicates. So that means the ID Alliance 54 patch target has 3 patches that the TC1617 does not have. If my proofing is going to be based on this profile I'm making, it would be nice to have all those patches in the target, wouldn't it? Output patch set. Besides outputting all, like I laid out here, the software will recognize the targets I put into measurements and allow me to output as either one of these. But look at this, it can automatically recognize groupings of other targets in these blended measurements also. It does this by looking up the CMYK values in the files. You can teach Curve4 to look for these other charts. Just paste an example of a measured target or a reference file in this custom target definitions folder here. This is in the same folder as your target definition files you used for measuring. I use this to reference things all the time. Is this chart a subset of another chart? Yes, the IT8 is a subset of the TC1617. Any of these target definitions would show up here if the patches were included. So notice the P2P25 is not, which makes sense. The TC1617 has the gray patches of a P2P, but not the colored ramps. Okay, now, what if you are this far along in the process and the word comes from the boss that he wants you to use a new control strip? You're all going to start using the 2013 ID Alliance 84 patch strip. You do have the 2009 in here, but not the 2013. Otherwise, it would show up. Well, Regenerate will allow you to create any target measurement you want. And to do that, it'll extrapolate the missing values based on the colors you already have in the data. It'll basically make up colors out of thin air that don't exist in your original data. This means you can simulate any measurement you want. Naturally, the interpolation will be more accurate the more data you give it, the more surrounding colors it has to work with, but it works very well. I can't even think of all the possibilities this brings up. You want to compare Curve4 to Curve2, but you measured a P2P51, while Curve2 only recognizes a P2P25. Well, you can make a P2P25 now. Think of all the areas where you have measurement files that you want to compare, but they're from different targets. Or you have software that maybe only takes a certain kind of target. Now you can just about make any layout of measurement that you want. I got my 84 patch output set, and I'm going to export the blended file. I'm not just limited to a CGATS text file now. I can use CXF or MXF. These are formats that i1Profiler likes to use. Gone are the days where it's hard to trick i1Profiler into accepting your old text file that came from a different app. Like most of the software Chromix produces, the blend tool is very open-ended. If you think about it, there are many ways these features can be used. You're only limited by your imagination. In a future video, I'll throw together a bunch of ideas to get you started.